you build up this dream and you feel like you got it, and then it ends. And I feel like that is being creative. It's very up and down. And yeah, you feel like, I got that job, I landed that job, this is me, I'm set. And then it's like down again and then up again. It's a lot.
Can you introduce yourself, your name and what you do?
My name is Ellen Lundy. What I do, I hate that question. It's hard to pinpoint because I do as much as I want, and I can. And I've had written down before on newspapers as a profile of me on things that who I am, like filmmaker, model, activist. But when I see that written down, I'm like, that's too impressive. No, that's not me. But I do dabble in all of those things, but it's hard for me to actually say because I also balance a 9 to 5 in something that I'm not really passionate about. So what I do is just try everything that I'm passionate about. Yeah.
That's good. We'll get into that later because I know that especially when you're creative, it's when someone asks you what you do, it's really hard to explain or for it to feel succinct, this is what I do and that's it.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of people are multidisciplinary, so they dabble in different things. But when you're talking to people that aren't creative, it's you have to really narrow it down and then you feel suffocated.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
I know, but it's also taking ownership of the creative stuff that you do. It's really hard to get there. Me saying that I'm a model in itself, I'm well, I'm not. I do it sometimes, but it's hard for me to take ownership of that. So I'm working on that.
If you could tell me, where would you say that you're from?
I'm from Northern Ireland, but I don't really feel a connection to Northern Ireland. It's just somewhere where I've grown up. But yeah, it's where I'm from.
And what was your childhood like?
It was good. Middle class, nice things, been able to explore passions and hobbies. So it was very colourful, but also hard. Just fitting in. I was always really tall. So it's just, it's hard. And being really a creative thinker since I was a kid, teachers were like, she's weird. So I was always sort of, brought down for thinking creatively. But thankfully I had parents that were like, no, go think creatively, do whatever.
What kind of things were you interested in back then? You said that you were a creative thinker, even though you weren't encouraged in school, at home it seemed that they celebrated your creativity. So what kind of things did you like to do?
Paint, write. My mum taught me how to write poetry from a young age, and we would write poetry together, short stories. It was just very embraced thinking outside of education. So that was really nice. Danced, sang, everything and anything creative that wasn't so structured. I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and that's such an amazing thing to have parents that celebrate that, because I know so many people don't have that.
I know, I'm so lucky.
But I feel lucky as well. My parents have always celebrated my creativity, even if they don't understand it.
Yeah. Totally.
I love you. I love you. I don't know what you're doing, but we support your venture. And it definitely instills something in you.
Yeah, and it carries on. When you grow up, that will always be with you. Even if you're brought down by other people, education or whatever, as long as your close-knit family home has that, no, do it. It's always there and it'll help you.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned earlier that you don't feel connected to Northern Ireland. Why do you think that is?
It's probably because of my mum. She came over here when they thought the troubles were over. So it was I think it was the peace process time. They moved over and it all started up again, I think, a bit. Not to the extent that it was, but we grew up in Portadown and there was like bombs going off there. So probably from my mum being like, why are we here? Since I was little, I've always felt like that, like, why are we here? But I've grown to really appreciate here. Like, we have such rich history and living legends now that have created so much change. Like, that's a really special place to be. So I used to resent them for making me grow up here, but now I'm really appreciative because it's really shaped who I am.
Yeah, that's interesting that it was still ongoing when you were growing up.
Yeah.
And I don't think we realise in this country how much the Troubles is still affecting people. Like, it's not that far away of when it happened. And I know that people are kind of trying to move forward and, like, you know, see a better version of Northern Ireland, but there's still a lot of trauma and a lot of just people are scared to, like, take up space and, like, breathe. And, you know, it's a very kind of like, okay, we're just kind of very resilient people and strong. But I think there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be sorted. Do you feel that way?
Totally. Like, this place is just trauma, like, ridden, and no one gets help. It's not there unless you pay for it, or it's a massive waiting list, and it's just not. You can't just say it's over. It's not. It's living with people, you know.
And especially with our parents that have gone through it, and then that feeds into, like, the next generation of children as well.
Yeah, it's passed on.
Did your family talk about it?
Not overly. We acknowledged that it was there, but, like, personal accounts, no. Like, no one goes there. It's really hard for people to talk personally about it. It's always very textbooky. Like, these were the dates that had happened. And instead of actually saying how it made people feel, I think that needs to start happening now.
So let's jump to when you were finishing school and kind of going to university. Like, what was happening then in your life?
I loved doing A-levels because you got to pick your subjects. So mine was moving image, drama, and I had to pick ICT, but let's forget about that. I really, really thrived doing that because it was something that I wanted to learn. And then after A-levels, I went to the Northern Film School in Leeds to study film production and specialise in cinematography. It was good, but again, it was so hard to navigate being from Northern Ireland and going into England. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but there was no one from Northern Ireland there. And it was really hard to connect with people because they had no idea where I was coming from, and I didn't really sympathise with where they were coming from. So it was really hard to connect.
And in terms of, like, your creative journey, did you know what you wanted to do at that point? Like, what drew you to film in the first place?
I knew I wanted to be a cinematographer. I was just like, yes, this is me. I was so obsessed with how to make things look with lighting and composition. Like, I was just obsessed. Then I got there and I was just like, this is not, I don't know why I'm here. Because it was very male dominated. The camera department in the film industry is very male dominated. So I was the only girl in the cinematography class for a while. And then another girl came along and that was it. Everyone else was, like, super, like, you know, male, confident, rigging lights, jumping up and down ladders, like, carrying really heavy lighting. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? And if I do it and I fail, then I've let all women down. Like, but I tried. And I'm still interested, but I just don't see myself as this amazing cinematographer anymore. I'm just not into the film industry as much as I want it to be. It's not creative. Like, it has that facade of being, like, super creative and glam, but it's not. Felt lost. And I sort of ran away from that pressure. I joined a charity as a filmmaker and went to Nepal to film their charity work. And that was an amazing experience. I got to see a lot. I was the only woman, I was one woman crew filming, traveling all over. And it was intense, but so, so good. And then from that, I was asked to go to Uganda with them. So I did that as well. Again, solo, not having a clue. And just doing it. And it was amazing. It really made me see that that's what I wanted to do. Like, tell important stories, real accounts of people. Because I find that so inspiring. Whereas in uni, I wanted to be as wacky and creative as possible. Just get it out of my system. Because you have to explore and be weird and make really shit art. Like, you have to do it. Absolutely. Yeah. So I definitely did do that. Probably wasted a lot of resources doing that. But yeah, from going to Nepal and Uganda, it made me realize, like, documenting real people and their stories is really what I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm. And when you finished up with that, what happened next?
I just settled down, try to get like a part-time job, which I did. I was in Portadown, Northern Ireland. So yeah, I juggled that with film projects on and off, film sets, stuff like that, modelled. Yeah, I just tried every little bit to like build up a portfolio with the hopes of leaving. So then I went to London and worked in film there, did a bit of modelling, and then came home.
What was London like? Like, so you'd stayed in Belfast or Portadown for a while and then moved to London. Like, was there a reason for that? You felt that there was more opportunities in London, or like, why did you feel you wanted to go back? Yeah, probably more opportunities. I think I romanticized it a lot. Like, London, it's where everyone is, it's where it all's happening. But it's a struggle. It's hard. It's so intense. I just got temp work and then tried to network my way into working in a film project, which I did. It was awful. Yeah, it was just really challenging. Egos, all of that stuff, like the typical stuff that women go through. Yeah. So then after that film project was finished, I then came home. And how did you feel coming back?
Like, I failed. I'm gonna cry. Stop this. Oh no. Yeah. No one's asked me that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I failed. But I've learned that failure actually helps. Yeah.
But why did you feel like you failed?
Because you build up this dream and you feel like you got it, and then it ends. And I feel like that is being creative. It's very up and down. And yeah, you feel like, I got that job, I landed that job, this is me, I'm set. And then it's like down again and then up again. It's a lot.
It's so hard. It's living this life of a creative person and a creative mind and a creative soul is the hardest thing, because there's no certainty.
No.
There's no consistency, and you have to fight really hard to create what it is in your head that you want.
Yeah.
And then also the disappointment of when you get your dream and it's not as amazing as you thought it was. Like, you have to grieve that.
I know.
That's so challenging, because it's that, and then you question, was that my idea of success or was that someone else's idea of success?
Totally. I feel like creative people are the most dissatisfied people walking around. Like, we're constantly like, oh, really? Is this it? It's really hard. Yeah.
And did you feel at that time you could talk to anyone about what you were feeling, about feeling like a failure and coming back to Portugal?
Yeah, definitely. I have close friends that can relate to a degree. Yeah, and they all understood where I was at, so that was nice. Yeah.
And do you feel like you have perspective on that experience now? Like, how long has it been since?
I think it's been 3 years. Yeah. I think I do have perspective, but I'm still like annoyed, you know. Because I worked so hard, and the guy that I was working for was just horrible. And I was on the credits, which I was never supposed to be. I was put on the credits of this film, and it did really well in Toronto Film Festival, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is me. And then he just blacklisted me, so I was taken off the credits. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
And then when you came home, like, what did that look like?
It was good. It was calm. There was just a sense of like, oh, I can breathe. And then I just got a full-time job working in social media, which I never thought that I would do. And yeah, balanced modelling work as well, and worked on some just film projects for me. And yeah.
So you've kind of been piecing yourself back together.
Yeah.
It's almost like a breakup.
It is. It is a breakup. Yeah.
And so what has the last 3 years looked like for you?
Last 3 years looked like, I've always resented coming back home. Like, come back home. Like, I'm such a failure. But now I've like learned to really appreciate it. It gives you time to think and to breathe and to focus on what you actually want to do. So I've grown to appreciate it, but I feel like I am back to square one, and I haven't actually defined what I do. I'm still back to juggling so many things, which is it's a privilege. It's enriching because I get to dabble in many things. But I would love to be able to say I do this one thing and I'm great at it. But that's just the nature of being creative and figuring it out.
Yeah. I don't think creative people or that live, like, work in creative industries can say that they do one thing. I genuinely don't think that exists.
No.
Because when you focus on one thing and you still have all these other interests, like, do you just discard them and be like, this is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's so challenging. And I think we've been talking about this, like, even over the past weekend, of like no one talking about the struggle of trying to figure out what it is that you want to do. And there's a lot of shame attached to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of like, and I think that contributes to like social media of like everyone just seems like they have this curated perfect life. And the nature of Instagram now, it's very much marketing and branding and personal brands, and the way that we funnel our ideas for it to be presented in that way, it just like makes you feel like a bag of shit. You know, and it's so It's so exhausting. Like, I am sick of it. Like, this is why I want to have these conversations, because I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's dispel the myth that like everyone has their shit together and they don't.
I know.
I certainly don't. I'm like, I've done so many different things. I've done fashion, I've done events, I've done podcasting, I've done social media, I've done marketing, and now I'm onto film, and it's so exciting. But then it's that thing of not feeling good enough because I didn't go to uni to study it. So I feel like I sit on the outside, and then there's just like a whole bag of insecurities there. But I know I'm following my intuition, and that's not tangible.
Like, and you're right, it is social media, because we consume it so much and it's so curated, and it's not, it might be a bit real for them, like, you know,
100% real.
Yeah, but like, it's not their entirety. It's not actually who they fully are. Like, there are so many people balancing a shitty job to be able to be creative, you know, after work. Yeah.
And that's the reality of pursuing a creative practice.
Yeah.
That, like, if you're in London, I think that's the norm. You have like 2 or 3 different jobs, and you're not necessarily just like being fully creative and having a full-time job in that. And I think here, like, I definitely had shame, like so much shame. I used to work in scenes part-time while building this on the side, and it was just like I was so embarrassed.
But I think that's more badass.
Yeah.
You worked in Sainsbury's and built this. That's insane. Like, I love those stories. I hate like, yeah, I've got this. Yeah, what happened? Like, how did you get here?
What have been your main insecurities about yourself that you're either working on or have overcome?
My whole self. Like, I'm just insecure as a person. I'm so deeply insecure, but I'm able to park it and just get on with it. Like, modeling, for example, you might feel really shit that day, really ugly, fat, or whatever, bloated, but you just have to park it and try your best to look and feel amazing. So I have that, at least. It doesn't, you know, make me hide away. I'm aware of my insecurities, but yeah, I acknowledge them and I park them when I need to.
What kind of insecurities do you have?
Literally everything.
What's everything?
Literally everything. Like, I might be misunderstood, I might say the wrong thing, and someone might pick it up this way. Like, I think that is social media as well, because like, once you say something, everyone's like, oh my God. But it's like, no, I didn't mean it that way. Or, so there's that, and then just how I look. It's, yeah, everyone struggles with that, I suppose. Yeah.
When you say that you don't focus on it, like, what did you create any practices to like help you overcome that, or like be able to manage it better?
I think I've been validated because I'm sometimes a model. So I'm like, okay, I am pretty on paper. So I'm able to get over that insecurity. Because I get paid to look pretty. But if I didn't have that, like, that's different. That would be a lot harder to overcome that. But it makes me sad that's what validates me feeling or being pretty, because I should just know that.
But we're not taught to.
I know. Yeah.
We're not taught to think that we're beautiful and to focus on that.
Yeah.
You know, that's just hard.
Yeah.
You know, to build your self-esteem, and like, we all seek validation, and it's like, I'm turning 30 this year and I'm still struggling with my self-esteem and my body.
At least, like, you're able to acknowledge it and know where it's come from.
How do you think people see you?
Ooh. I do think people just see me as, oh, she's pretty. That's it. Or sometimes, oh, she's angry. Because I'm very outspoken about things that I'm passionate about. But I'm so much more than that. I'm goofy. I'm weird. Yeah, I'm not that serious. And I can be really ugly.
But you're human. Yeah, I know, but that's the thing with like the social media aspect, because it just flattens everybody.
It does. It flattens everyone's personality, and it's just not real. Not real. I've learned to just distance myself from it. Because I meet people in real life who I see on social media. I'm like, oh,
You're not who I thought you were.
no, you're so nice and you're open, and yeah. But then on social media, it's like they're really intimidating. They have it all, but they don't. They're just people. Yeah.
What things do you love about yourself?
Esther. Oh God. What things do I love about myself? I love that I'm open-minded, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I love that I'm open-minded, and I'm able to talk to anyone without judgment. I welcome everyone in, and I want to get to know everyone.
What brings you joy?
Simple stuff. Walks, Pilates. Like, creating stuff for me brings me joy without the pressure of putting it out there. Because there's lots of projects that I've worked on that have never been released. But I'm like, I did that, that's so nice. No one sees it but me, or, you know, it never just manifested into the world. That brings me joy too.
What makes you feel beautiful?
Oh. Creating, writing, playing piano, stuff that isn't actually about how I look, makes me feel beautiful. You're your purest self in those moments. You're just zoned in, and the outside world is, you're not aware. Yeah.
What's your definition of success now?
Happy. You're happy. That's it. You may be struggling for the rest of your life to get to your successful moment, whatever that is. But if you're happy doing it, that's successful. It doesn't matter if it didn't end up the way you wanted it. I've learned to let go of reaching and just being, just enjoying the process and being present for it instead of anticipating the end. Just go with it. It's the process that means everything.
And I just wanted to circle back on what we talked about earlier of you struggling to take ownership over you saying that you're a model, you're an activist, you're a filmmaker. Like, I think you are all those things because you're multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
And I think you have experience in those things. And like, what is it that's holding you back to take ownership over that when you have a portfolio and all those things?
I think because there's always people greater than you. And you're like down here, and it's like, I can't say that because those people are that, like they are those people. I'm not. I'm like way down here. So it feels kind of bold to say that you're those things. And I'm just not comfortable yet saying that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just wondering, like, what point are you waiting for that moment? Like, what is it that you feel like you have to attain before you can claim those things for yourself?
I have no idea. Do you know, like, I don't even know. So it's probably made up in my head that, like, I'm not those things. I can't say that yet. I think waiting for validation from other people is probably it. But like, no. Why wait for other people? I'm there.
And what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh. Stop worrying what other people are thinking. Just do you. Just do whatever you want to do. Don't take life seriously. You don't need to know what you're going to do when you're older. That means nothing. Because I'm older now. And like, I'm still like, what do I want to be when I'm older? You're always going to ask yourself that. So don't stop asking yourself that. And just enjoy all your hobbies.